Hi everyone, David here from Cruising Calypso. On this episode, we head to Maryland to pick up Calypso 2 and bring her back to Marion. Stay tuned. So we're back home and Calypso is safe and sound on her new mooring in Marion. Now, like all great adventures, this one did not exactly go to plan. Now, I'm not saying we had any major problems, but it certainly wasn't perfect given all the planning we had done. It started with the Uber that didn't show up at 6 a.m. on the morning we were supposed to catch our flight to Baltimore. When we got to Baltimore, we picked up a rental and we drove from Baltimore International Airport down to Grasonville. Along the way, as we crossed over the Kent Island Narrows Bridge, the bridge was completely socked in with fog, not giving us a lot of confidence about the following day's trip. However, we got to the boatyard, and when we got there, we found out that Calypso 2 had not been short-hauled and her bottom had not been power washed. We had asked that this be done to ensure that we have optimal running performance. But Dave, the owner of the boatyard there, was super and accommodated us, and within an hour of us arriving, Calypso 2 was on the travel lift and up and being power washed. Since she was out of the water, we decided also to let her dry and spray the running gear with zinc paint to help anti-fouling for the rest of the season. Here you see Calypso moving onto the travel lift and slowly being raised out of the water and moved off the canal so she can be power washed and the bottom can be painted.
So this is Calypso 2 after the bottom has been power washed. And we're going to let it hang and dry, and then we're going to spray paint the running gear with basically zinc paint so it will last the season.
We were able to stock up with all the food and supplies that we needed, and while we were doing that, I was able to meet with a local mechanic who was a Caterpillar trained mechanic, and he walked through the engines with me. Not a survey per se, but just telling me what I had to watch out for, things I needed to take care of each year. It was really, really very helpful. And also he recommended certain spare parts that I should carry along, and so we were able to do that. We got underway the next morning at around 8:30, heading north up the Chesapeake Bay, up to the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, northeast on the canal, and then southeast on the Delaware River down to the Cape May Canal. Having an autopilot was new to me, but was immensely helpful in steering the boat on this long trip. If you take a look at my earlier video, you can see the more detail of the route we took. You can see on this leg of the trip we made good speed. So we are now entering the top of the Searay Canal, which connects the Chesapeake Bay to the Delaware Bay, on our way to Cape May. We have had a relatively uneventful voyage leaving Grasonville up the Chesapeake. Not too much traffic. We passed a little bit of tug and barge traffic. We're now entering the canal. As you can see, the waterway is getting much narrower in here. Plenty of water, 46 feet. Still maintaining 20 knots. But we'll probably adjust that momentarily and slow down in a bit. Some nice houses along the way. About a third to coming up to halfway through the Delaware Canal, passing under the Chesapeake City Bridge. As I say, the weather has been
pretty favorable so far. We've been lucky. We're going to have to make a decision as to what we do next, because weather routing service is telling us that the next couple of days are rather stiff conditions off the coast of New Jersey heading up to Staten Island. So we have to decide if we push on to Staten Island today, which will be a very long day, and avoid that, or stop in Cape May and stay in Cape May for several days. So today is Wednesday, the 27th, and they're saying if we stop tonight, we may not be able to get out until the 31st, which is certainly not ideal. But if we push on today, the conditions are favorable to make it to Staten Island. We'll have to see how we're doing when we get there, and we'll have to make a decision. So stay tuned.
Upon entering the Cape May Canal, we did actually get an opportunity to see some dolphins swimming alongside, although the video of that didn't come out so well. We proceeded down the canal and entered into what can be only described as a creek off the canal to our first stop, which was the Miss Chris Fishing Center. Now, the Miss Chris Fishing Center wasn't exactly a marina, it wasn't even a boatyard. It was exactly what it sounds like. A fishing center that happened to have 2 transient spots for boats to stay at. And no sooner had we pulled in to our spot than right next to us another Searay, in this case a 390 motor yacht, pulled in right next to us, piloted by a very lovely couple who I refer to them as the Accidental Great Loopers. They were from Illinois, and they were about 3/4 of the way through the Great Loop, having transited all the way down the Mississippi, across the Gulf of Mexico, down to Key West, around the tip of Florida, and back up, and now we were crossing paths with them in Maryland. Their plan was to continue on to about Connecticut, where they were going to leave the boat for several months and return home to Illinois to take care of some business, and then come back in August, pick the boat up, and bring it back so they could cross over their wake and complete the Great Loop. So, welcome to Cape May. We pulled into Miss Chris Fishing Center, where we had a transient mooring reservation, and here we are. It is exactly as you'd expect it. It is a fishing place. When we arrived here, there's a fishing boat at the berth next to us, and it will be back later on at 10 tonight doing commercial trips. And right next door to us, a fellow Searay owner came in with this really nice 39 motor yacht. You can see what it looks like here. Looks like they rent kayaks here and have some other things. In a little bit we're going to take a walk and check out a convenience store. So yeah, we had a really nice ride. It was about 6 hours. Took us a bit longer because I didn't anticipate going quite as slow through the Delaware Canal, but that worked out okay. We had pretty much flat conditions, a little bit of fog on Delaware Bay, but not bad. It was a very nice ride. Next thing to figure out is what the weather for the next couple of days is, if we're going to be stuck here for a while or if we're going to be able to continue on our trip. So stay tuned and we will update you on that. Our goal was to leave tomorrow, which is Thursday the 28th, and head to Staten Island. Who knows? We will see. So stay tuned. One of the most interesting things about the Miss Chris Fishing Center was on the adjacent dock to us was a fishing tour boat that would take out about 25 people twice a day to go fishing. And it seemed to me that it was the same crowd who was going fishing every day. They certainly were an interesting group, but they were dedicated to fishing. The boat would go out in the morning at 10 and then go out again at 4 to 10 p.m. And I believe the evening fishery was for drum fish. The one time they caught a drumfish, they brought it back, and after they had cleaned it, they put what was left of it and hung it on the post right at the top of the gangway coming off the dock. So that certainly was an interesting little detail to be added to the area. And by the time we left, the night before we left, it certainly was time for that fish to be changed. Once we arrived in Cape May, we fueled up the boat, took on more water, and at that point we checked in with WRI, our weather routing service. That's when things started to get a little bit sideways. They indicated that the following day would not be a good travel day, because contrary to what the original window had said, there was a front that had moved through, and the conditions off the New Jersey coast were anywhere from 3 to 5 footers with the occasional 4 to 6 footers. And so we decided that just wasn't suitable for traveling. You'll see we have some upcoming video of those conditions from the beach, and it really was quite hairy.
So this is why we are holed up in Cape May for several days. This is looking at the beach, and I'm sure the wind noise is terrible, but this is what's offshore between the waves and the fog. It would be a really rough ride if we had chosen to go out. So we're waiting until this calms down before we head up to Staten Island. An old pier there, or what's left of one, being washed up by the waves.
In addition to exploring the beach at Cape May, we also walked up and down the streets. And for those of you who are familiar with the area, Cape May has a Coast Guard training center there, but it's also known for its quaint houses, which have a unique gingerbread style, and they're all really well maintained. So it really is a very nice area to visit. One of the things Cape May is known for is its gingerbread homes. And so far we've seen a mix of classic Cape May style homes, some brand new construction, and then some older homes that could use some updating. And of course Cape May is very big with the Coast Guard. There's a big Coast Guard training center here as well. More examples of the cute little homes here in Cape May and the lovely landscaping that we're seeing as we walk down to the local Acme supermarket to get more food. I've never heard of this chain, but we will let you know how it works out. As I have often said, boat cruising is about the journey, the destination, and the people you meet along the way. So from the lovely couple who was in the 390 motor yacht next to us, to Bob who owned the Miss Chris Fishing Center, it was really quite nice. Bob was so helpful. You know, he was able to help us and arrange for me to get new shore power cords, because first time having used them, 2 of the ends seemed a little bit burnt, and so I was not going to take any chances. So he was able to get me 2 brand new Marine Co 50-foot 30-amp cords, which is what Calypso 2 requires, at basically cost from the local West Marine, because he has some arrangement with them. So that saved me a couple of bucks there. But Bob was great. And so I would highly recommend stopping at the Miss Chris Fishing Center if you're transiting either north or south past South Jersey. So that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I think I will combine the next 2 legs together into a video, the portion from Cape May up to Great Kills, and Great Kills through New York City up to Old Saybrook. So look out for that. Take care.